The White House in America just issued an official statement saying that the US is now the Bitcoin superpower of the world and that the golden age has begun. Guys, how crazy is that? You couldn't have dreamed of this just a few years ago. People used to laugh at you if you talked about Bitcoin. People ignored you, they laughed at you, they made fun of the whole Bitcoin community. And now Bitcoin is winning here. We now officially see Donald Trump, David Sachs, and so on, who are now coming out here quite publicly with an official statement from the White House. And they're saying, hey folks, things are really taking off now. Now the big Bitcoin adoption is kicking off. We're taking a look at this statement now because something like this has never happened in the entire history of mankind. And most people are totally missing out on this right now. We can also see it in the Bitcoin price. We're also going to take a look at a statement from American HODLator, which confirms and emphasizes this as well. That Bitcoin will rise to several $million. Oh well, I meant American HODL and not British HODL. That means anyone who gets into Bitcoin now is still getting a discount of probably over $1 million, because Bitcoin is going to rise to several $1 million. And what's happening right now is going to trigger the Omega candles, the Valhalla candles, and the super candles. The question is, when are people going to get it? When is Bitcoin really going to pick up speed again? Sure, at the moment you can say, hey, what kind of rubbish are you talking? And so just take a look at the Bitcoin price, it's just chilling. But no, we need to look at the fundamentals. We're not looking at the Bitcoin price in the short term. Sure, in the short term, there are some traders, some exchanges or whatever that are manipulating the price down, using any liquidation phases here to push the prices down, and so on. But none of that matters at all what's happening in the short term. Long term, we've never had such an incredible setup, and we need to take a look at that now. Plus, there are also new opportunities that are being declared here. Like here in the USA, you can buy Bitcoin. Anyone who's bearish on Bitcoin in the long run has definitely lost control of their life, at least in my opinion. Sure, in the short term, it can still go down and all that. Anything's possible. But in the long run, there's only one way to go, and that's towards Valhalla. And just like how people would have laughed 5 or 6 years ago if you told them what's happening now. We've got Bitcoin ETFs and nation-state adoption and so on. Just like those people who are laughing now and don't believe that their Bitcoin will, let's say, rise to 6, 7, or even 8 figures. It's exactly the same thing, just with a different time frame. I'm talking about it rising to 6, 7, or even 8 figures in a short time. It's exactly the same thing, just with a different time frame. And the same goes for the Bitcoin bans. Anyone who seriously still thinks that their Bitcoin is going to be banned has really lost control of their life. Check this out, you guys. It's just unbelievable that we're experiencing something like this. Here, America is going to be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. The golden age of America has begun. And then let's zoom in on the picture, and then we see here Donald Trump laughing away. And back here, you see David Sachs laughing too, as they set up the stockpile. Here's the executive order that was signed. That means here, establishment of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and United States Digital Asset Stockpile. And what's happening here is something truly historic. Because this isn't just about creating a stockpile, but they're also sending a message to all the other countries, sending a message to Germany, the EU, China, Russia, Japan. All the major nations are watching this very closely now. And do you really think that the other nations are now still asleep and are not dealing with Bitcoin? So if you don't get it now, you're never going to get it. I mean, the EU still won't get it anyway. They're still sleeping on it because they're just too clueless. I'm just going to assume that. But China, Russia, Japan, other major nations, they're definitely going to take this seriously. Don't sleep on it. I already reported in my last video that China may be planning to buy Bitcoin, a strategic Bitcoin reserve. CNBC even confirmed that Bitcoin is being accumulated in the background. By the way, take a look. I'm here. At the beach, easy. Chilling. You can definitely take news like this in a very bullish way. So it's really nice here. Anyway, let's keep going because there are some big news that just came out from the crypto summit. Because it looks like we actually had the official part here. And it was all right, but nothing really special or anything. The whole round table and so on. The exciting things have really been happening behind the scenes. Here, Stephen Lebaka has listed a few things. So first of all, he laid out this whole list of Bitcoin and so on, where he said that they're probably all going to be sold off and swapped around for Bitcoin. I can't confirm that, or I don't know if what you're saying is reliable. I have no idea, I can't say much about that. Could happen that this takes place. But what's way more important is what you're saying here, and this is really, really relevant. And that's being discussed too. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. From someone who was there during the discussion at the crypto summit. He says, yes, for sure. Next, the executive branch will create a public-private partnership to unleash American energy at the federal level. Private companies will produce state energy and share a portion of the revenue with the U.S., which will use that to buy Bitcoin. So now pay attention. This means that energy use in the US is partially subsidized when it's done, for example, through Bitcoin mining. Or what I mean is subsidized, not subsidized, but rather it's being promoted also on a regulatory level. And at the moment, it was often the case that the excess energy simply fizzled out. And now in the US, it's going to be that you can use it in the future in the form of Bitcoin mining. When you do this Bitcoin mining, there's just a share where you say, okay, for example, 80% can be used by the miners and 20% of the revenue goes directly to the U.S. And that's then a win-win situation, so the US benefits. So the people who have remote energy or something like that also get an extra benefit because they probably earn more with the mining rewards than if they were just feeding it back into the grid or something like that. Or in some cases, they're not even connected to the grid. And this is a really, really big deal. And David Bailey, the advisor here from Donald Trump, confirms that again. He says here this would be addressed at the summit. And I also mentioned it in my comments. America has enormous excess energy capacity, dozens of gigawatts. They should open these facilities for Bitcoin mining operations and share the revenue. It would increase the budget and could flow directly into the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So that wouldn't be a problem at all. It would be deficit neutral here. So you wouldn't be creating a new deficit here. That's always the big issue where people say they don't want to create a new deficit. And as long as it doesn't create a new deficit, you can use it here to accumulate more Bitcoin position. That means the Bitcoin miners are probably going to be tapped next. There are really, really big incentives being offered in the US to do Bitcoin mining. Everyone has the incentive to do Bitcoin mining here. And then you just create a share and a certain portion. It goes into the strategic Bitcoin reserve. And I assume that the majority can just be kept by the people here. Samson Mow also had a really interesting observation about this. What he says here is what worries me. The introduction has not been so gradual so far. Ignore the important news that still needs to be processed, like the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and just focus on the implemented Bitcoin strategies. I would have preferred if Bitcoin bonds had been launched a few years ago, with a few more countries on board by 2023. Some strategies would have been adopted, and a few more big corporations would have started issuing treasuries in 2024. Here, MicroStrategy and so on. Now it really seems like everything is building up to a climax. Once the news about the US strategic Bitcoin reserve is fully understood and everyone starts implementing Bitcoin strategies, things could move very, very quickly. Basically, the less gradual the better. The more practical the movement, the more explosive the suddenness becomes. Expect Omega, which means gradually and then suddenly. Briefly broken down, what's Samson Mow? Here, it means that everything has been moving really slowly over the past few years, but now things could happen very, very quickly. Because right now, the market hasn't really grasped what's going on here. Once the news is digested and the market understands it. And then maybe the US will actually announce the first purchases or the first swaps, where money from other pools is supposed to be swapped into the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Then it could happen quite suddenly because all at once, a lot of nations will be working on strategic Bitcoin reserves and a ton of companies will dive into Bitcoin. And then we have the God Candle adoption, as Samson Mow puts it, where we won't have a gradual Bitcoin adoption anymore, but will really shoot up suddenly. I mean, no one can guarantee that it will really happen, but this is definitely on the table. The scenario that Samson Mow sees as, let's say, the most likely, and I'd say, I don't see it as 100% likely that we're just going to. Still, traders and stuff are kind of coming our way, you know. I'm still a bit skeptical about that. But I can definitely imagine that at some point we'll hit a sort of saddle moment where things really take off all of a sudden, and we might see 3 or 4 big announcements in just 1 month. China is getting into Bitcoin, Russia is getting into Bitcoin, now Apple is getting into Bitcoin, Google is getting into Bitcoin, and so on. That it could definitely happen all of a sudden. But hey, who am I to judge the whole thing? Check out what the American Huddle has to say. And that's why people say here, all people who don't have Bitcoin have lost control of their lives. Anyone who doesn't own Bitcoin right now just doesn't get what's going on here. You know what? I'm not going to explain it any further. Just check out what the American Huddle has to say. It doesn't get any more bullish than this. Before we dive into the video, there's an important announcement to make, because the tax situation with Bitcoin is always a really, really important thing that you shouldn't underestimate. Grace, there's a power outage here. Haha, how funny. But anyway, hold on. I need to turn the lights back on for a sec. So now I have light again. Definitely, if you want to track your taxes optimally, I absolutely recommend signing up for coin tracking. Now that the power is back, I really suggest you do it. The best tax tracking software on the whole market. Here, you can not only track your taxes, like seeing when the coins are fresh in the stash and when they're fresh outside of it, but you can also generate tax reports or track your portfolio. And now, especially in the next 3 days, there's a premium event exclusive for people from the Bitcoin hotel community. You can easily sign up in the Telegram group below and just write in the Telegram group your username with the hashtag coin tracking, and then your account will be upgraded to premium for the next 2 weeks. So just sign up in the Telegram group below, your username with the hashtag coin tracking.
Hey, fuck the fact that the price is 86K. It doesn't fucking matter. Where we're going, we don't need fucking roads. All right, the price is going to 860,000, and it's going to 8.6 million. Then it's going to 86 million. You think I give a fuck? If you don't have a Bitcoin, you can get one now for the price of a Mercedes. All right? A lot of you have a fucking Mercedes or a BMW, and you don't have a fucking Bitcoin. A lot of you have a Cybertruck, and you don't have a fucking Bitcoin. A lot of you have a fucking shitty condo and you don't have a Bitcoin. A lot of you have a 401k and you don't have a Bitcoin. Price of Bitcoin's only 86K, bitch. The SBR just fucking launched. You got an SBR. The price has already been over $100,000 before. The price is going to $1 million. BlackRock is telling you it's going to $700,000. BlackRock is adding percentage allocations to all of their portfolios, and you don't want to buy a fucking Bitcoin. I have no sympathy for you, dude. Don't come back to me in 20 years and tell me that I have shit that you should have. You don't have anything that you didn't deserve. You have exactly what you deserve, and so do I. Fix your fucking life. Buy your fucking Bitcoin. 86K, SBR, it's on sale. Ross Ulbricht's out of prison. We can do whatever the fuck we want. We're gonna run the table for the next 30 years. Nobody can stop us. It's Bitcoin forever, motherfucker. Everything we do is gonna succeed. Everything we do is gonna succeed. Oh, we were a factor in this election? We're about to be a factor in every fucking election. Forever, till the end of time. 1,000 years. Bitcoin, 1,000 years. Fuck with us.
So, if you didn't get it by now, you're out of luck. American HODL has definitely lost control of his life here. And then they won't have to complain in 20 years or so, saying, I totally missed the boat back then, and I just didn't catch on. And blah, blah, blah. It's always like that. Afterward, people complain, yeah, I didn't catch on. But he makes it very clear here, so many people have a Porsche. So many people have a Mercedes. No, he didn't say Porsche, he said Mercedes. So many people have an apartment here or have something here. We have some pointless things here. I mean, you can kind of understand it with an apartment, but so many people have pointless things here. He's talking about a retirement plan or a Riester pension or whatever, but we don't have any damn Bitcoin here. So you first need to start building your stack accumulating Bitcoin. And then you can start thinking about whether it makes sense to accumulate other things. I mean, sure, everyone has to decide for themselves. That's just American HODL's perspective. I want you who do not dictate here somehow. Selling your Mercedes right now and buying Bitcoin with it. But you've got this opportunity window right now. Now there's a massive discount here. American HODL says that Bitcoin will rise to 68 million. First to 680,000, then to 6.8 million, then to 68 million. Then Bitcoin won't stop rising. And right now, you've got the discount. I mean, sure, it all sounds exaggerated. American HODL is probably exaggerating too. Something, or in the long run, it probably won't be an exaggeration. I mean, in the long run, that's what will. Define Bitcoin. But a lot of people get scared off when you're too bullish about things. But I'm always super bullish about this. That's why I find American HODL statements here to be very, very accurate. That means anyone who isn't getting into Bitcoin right now is going to miss out on the whole thing. And the signs are there. Then no one can complain later and say, oh, the signs weren't there. It was unpredictable that Bitcoin would take off here. Yes, it was predictable. It is predictable. The signs are here now. I showed you at the beginning, the White House is making a statement and saying, we will become the Bitcoin superpower of the world. Bitcoin is about to enter the golden area. Michael Saylor is also talking about the gold we currently have out there. And anyone who doesn't have Bitcoin right now, I'll say it again, has lost control over their life according to American HODL. I mean, it doesn't translate perfectly one-to-one, but roughly speaking, you can put it this way. So here's the big call. If you want to buy Bitcoin, put a link down below. 21 Bitcoin, how you can easily, safely, and simply buy Bitcoin. Here at the Cult Bitcoin Hotel, you can still get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. It's super simple, easy to buy Bitcoin here, for beginners, professionals, advanced users, it doesn't matter, for your grandma, for you. Anyone can buy Bitcoin here. Let me know what you think about it. Are you bullish too, or are you still skeptical? See you soon. See you later. Greetings from here. I'll show the beach again. The sun is setting back there now. See you soon. Peace out.